Well, hello there all you absolutely magnificent people, and welcome back to another episode of An Ecologist Plays, where we talk about nature while playing games. My name is Will, I'm an ecologist by training, and we are back in Grounded 2, in the early access of Grounded 2. And today we are going on a bit of an adventure, but before we do that, just want to quickly show you our little house. Well, I say little, but as Nick, my wife, pointed out, there's nothing little about that. Except, of course, the footprint of this building, because it actually has a very, very small footprint. It is technically just built on this little bit of a stem over here. And then the idea is that we're building out a little bit and higher. That is how we are doing things. But yeah, it is quite a nice view from up here. And, well, we have to go and do a few things. Now, let's just also go and analyze something, because off screen I have been hunting a bunch of stuff, and, well, I did also encounter the ants, and I started hunting the ants, as you can see there. So just going to grab some recipes there. And then before we can go on our adventure proper, we just need to quickly look for some acorns. And I do believe there is an acorn right over here as well. There we go. We're going to bust that open. We did not get a top. So we'll just need to go and look for another one. We do have another little critter over here, the garden snail. Now, I previously thought it was actually a tiger snail. Turns out this is in fact just the baby garden snail over here, or just the garden snail overall as a species. So it does appear to be the exotic species, which I'm not particularly fond of, so we are going to, over time, be eradicating some of these snails as we go on. Now, as you can see there though, they do love hiding in their shells, so a little bit difficult to actually hunt, but I do believe if you actually shoot them and get a nice crit on the eye stalk, well, then they go down nice and easy. And is that? I think that is. There we go. There is an adult orb weaver, most likely a nice big female. I do believe the orb weaver juniors are in fact the males of the species, and the females are these big ones we've got over here. You know, I thought I had a bow, but apparently I don't have a bow yet. Well now. Hello there. That poor weevil getting caught in the crossfire there. Okay, so there, oh, that was a nice powerful attack, but there we go. Let's just, oh, there is also, oh, I am under attack. This is going worse than I anticipated. The spiderling unfortunately also got me. And there we go. The adult, of course, got me there as well. Ah, wonderful. You know, that'll teach me not to go on a little adventure without proper supplies. So let's quickly grab a bunch more fiber bandages and some nice roasts as well, because that'll come in handy. And let's go show those spiders who's boss. Now, interesting that there tends to, at least from what I've seen, generally be a lot of little spiderlings close to the big orb weavers. I suspect that is just, you know, coincidental. But there are some spider species where the mothers or the females are actually a bit, actually has parental care. I'm not sure whether this is one of those cases. I don't think it is. But we'll talk about that in a moment. Just need to quickly show this orb weaver who's boss. It seems to also be attacking the poor old snail there. And we can break the web that they use to block with by actually, you know, using a powerful attack. It's almost dead. Which will be absolutely marvelous, because I really need the orb weaver fangs. Come on, there we go, we got one. Definitely need another one. And there we go, we can technically stun the poor old snail here. Oh, this is brutal. And then it retreats back into its shell. And while we're waiting for it to actually come out again, we may as well just, you know, grab a few things here. And we're just going to again run up and stabby, stun it, and voila. Well, that actually worked better than I expected. Use the powerful attack to stun it. Stab, and then wait for it to come out again. Now we can eventually harvest the shells as well when we have better hammers, but that's going to be a while still. Of course, the snail trying to retreat into its shell because that is its safe space. That is generally what snails will do. They've got the shell as an armor. Of course, if you have it, why not try to use it? It's a typical mechanical defense mechanism. You find the same in tortoises, of course, as well, and turtles and terrapins, where the shell is the main line of defense against predators. And we're still looking for acorns. There we go, there are two more on that side. Because thus far we haven't... Oh, Bombardier Beetle. Well, no, that's not what I wanted. It's an amazing critter, and we are going to fight one later on, but not now.
I'm sensing an elevated risk of heat stroke.
Yeah, okay. Oh, there's a cockroach as well. My word. All the big things are here. Now, the cockroach, as far as I know, is not aggressive. Maybe... Now, I thought maybe we can get the Bombardier Beetle to attack the cockroach, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen today. We're just going to, you know, whack the acorn behind the Bombardier Beetle here. Oh, that's a blast. That's a blast going. Heehee. Oh, we'll talk about the Bombardier Beetle in a bit. Ah, there we've got a larva as well. I strongly suspect the larvae we've got in the game here would be the larvae of lacewings, because they do tend to look exactly like this. So I do believe this is in fact a lacewing larva, or was a lacewing larva. It is a dead one now. Oh, a whole bunch of spooders as well. So here we go. This is, pretty much suspect this is a male orb weaver. Males tend to be much smaller than the females, or not tend to be, are much smaller than the females. And that's kind of advantageous and disadvantageous as well, because with the females being so much larger than the males, there is a risk that they will be eaten by the females. And it does happen. They do practice what we call sexual cannibalism, which is after mating or during mating even sometimes, the female may cannibalize the male, so that's, you know, fun. But it tends to be that males that have already mated are more likely to offer themselves up to some extent to actually be eaten by the female. So it's not guaranteed that just because he is mating with a female that he is going to get eaten, but if he has already mated a few times, there is a greater chance of that happening. So let's just actually grab a few things here. There we go, the spider stringer. That is what I really want to make. I would love to make that bow, but we need another fang for that. So we'll try to find that in the morning. For now, though, it's just, you know, time to nap. But yeah, that's the main reason why it's disadvantageous, you know, to be so much smaller than the females. You know, you may get eaten by them. But one of the advantages is that you don't need as much food either. You can just kind of hang around, you can be quite small, and you know, hopefully not have to worry too much about getting enough food to survive. But there definitely are some advantages to being much smaller than the female. Now, I'd also think that maybe those orb weaver males are so much smaller so they can actually sneak up on the female and try to mate with her without, you know, being eaten by the female. But it seems that's most likely not the case, because very often what happens is that as they approach the female on her web, they tend to drum a certain beat on the web, so the female knows that they are in fact approaching. So it's not like they really are sneaking up on the female there. Ooh, we can make a crimson buckler. Now this is going to be a very nice shield to have, so you know what, we are going to make that. And for now we are just going to make a nice sprig bow as well. And some arrows. Alright. Okay, so now that we've got a bow, even though it is a sprig bow, a very simple bow, we at least have some range capabilities. We do need to make more arrows. So what we're going to do is we're going to just climb this thistle plant over here. After, you know, stabbing these guys a bit. And then we're just going to climb up this thistle plant here because, well, first of all, there is some nice raw science over here.
What a fascinating substance.
And then secondly, we can climb this plant here to get all these little prickles over here, the thistle needles. Going to use those to make arrows. But this is actually the plant's defense mechanism. This is how they deter herbivores from munching on them. Maybe not invertebrate herbivores, but it will definitely tend to prevent a lot of vertebrate herbivores from actually feeding on them. Because you can imagine grabbing a mouthful of spines, it's not very pleasant. So very similar to the snails in their shell, well, this is a mechanical defense mechanism. It's a physical defense rather than a chemical sort. Now, of course, just because you have one mechanism doesn't mean that you don't need the other mechanism as well. There are many plants that have both spines and a chemical defense mechanism. But for the thistle, the physical defense mechanism is usually perfectly fine. Alright, so now that we've got our arrows, it's time. After killing another male orb weaver over here. Now, of course, with our new shield, it's actually damaging the orb weaver as it attacks us. So physical attacks kind of get reflected back at the attacker, making it a little bit easier to actually bring them all down. Ooh, I do believe that is an ant mound right over there. Yeah, indeed, that is an anthill. And I hear things burrowing. This will most likely be a larva right over here. Yeah, indeed it is. Come on, larva. Ferocious predators, massive jaws in the front there. If this is in fact a lacewing larva... Oh, we also got the gold card there. Nice. If it is in fact a lacewing larva, they are ferocious predators of things like aphids and all kinds of other invertebrates. And there we go. We've got a lovely Wow. Okay. One shot, one kill, I guess.
This counts as research.
That's a nice soldier ant, or was a soldier ant. I don't know why, but I always tend to call the soldier ants he, but it's definitely not a he. All soldier ants, all ants in the colony, except the reproductive males, are females. So, yeah, when we get to Buggy, I already have a name for her. She is going to be a female, and I have got an appropriate name for her as well. Now, the question is, where is that Bombardier Beetle that we saw earlier? This is where we encountered the orb weaver. So I suspect... I think the Bombardier was just up here, wasn't it? There we go, there's the Bombardier right up there.
Research, right?
Perfect. Now there are a whole bunch of Bombardier Beetle species around the world. All of them generally have this type of coloration. It's not that well camouflaged. It is trying to stand out a little bit because, well, they've got a very, very interesting defense mechanism that we will see in action in a moment now. But what they do is, in the backside there, so right in the back of the abdomen, there are two glands there, each storing a compound. And then they have a chamber where they contract the glands, and the glands then secrete those two compounds. They go into the chamber at the back there. It mixes, creates an ectothermic reaction, which releases heat. And in the process of that chemical reaction and the exothermic reaction happening, you've got a buildup of gas as liquid gets changed into gas, and the gas causes a buildup, and it shoots out a boiling hot liquid. And that is why, if we get hit by the Bombardier Beetle here, we are going to have sizzling as an effect. So we're going to have to look out for that. Here it comes, looking very menacing, and that is the spray there. We should try to stay out of that. There we go, more sizzling. Now it does do some of the sprays overhead, which is not the case. With Bombardiers, they actually do lower the abdomen, kind of like you had there. They lower the abdomen, and then they spray underneath their body rather than, overhead. They can't actually spray overhead. That is looking very, very menacing. Oh, there we go. That was a nice charge shot. Miss. And it's almost dead. One more shot. And there we go. Finally. Ooh, and then it explodes. I forgot it does that. Yeah, let's just bandage ourselves up. Now, in real life, Bombardier Beetles wouldn't, explode like that when they die. But wow, what a beautiful, beautiful beetle. Very big eyes, should have quite good eyesight, and then of course chewing mouthparts as well. Now, these beetles are carnivorous. They do hunt a variety of smaller prey, but because they are themselves quite small, they do need to be able to defend themselves against larger predators, and that is why they have this amazing defense mechanism of mixing chemicals and then causing chaos. I think if I had to be a beetle, if I had to come back as a beetle in the next life, I would most likely come back as a Bombardier Beetle because they are just freaking awesome. Now, of course, with new animal encountered, we also have new material we can analyze. Alrighty, now I have made myself some grub armor. I've got the grub leggings, the grub chest plate, and now it's time to go on a bit of an adventure. Let's go there where Sloan wants us to go. So Sloan is a lady from Ominent. I haven't really talked to a lot about her, or haven't actually mentioned her at all, because, well, it's mostly, not quite spoilers, but almost spoilers. So, yeah, we just need to go in here for some odd reason. Let's go find out what is happening in here. Okay, we need a buggy to go through here. We don't have a buggy yet. We'll get that most likely next episode. But here we can go in. I just need a hammer. Now, what we've got over there is another soldier ant. Now, the presence of soldier ants here, along with workers, indicated this species of ant, and I have got no idea what the actual species is. I've tried to figure it out, but it's just a generic, looks like almost all reddish ants. So, yeah. almost impossible for me to figure out what the species is, but the fact that you've got soldiers and workers indicates that this species is what we call polymorphic. Poly meaning many, morphic referring to shape. So some of the worker caste actually function as workers, collecting food, bringing it back to the colony, those types of things, whereas some of the workers are larger, more aggressive, bigger mandibles, and they then function as soldiers. They are the soldier caste. That part of the worker caste actually are the soldiers of the colony. So not all ants have this. There are quite a few ant species that don't actually have these so-called soldiers, and there are also some that have got super soldiers, but I talked about that in my Empires of the Undergrowth videos. But yeah, this is a bigger, meaner individual. We are just going to go and say hello to her with a quick stabs, kind of stun it, and she's dead. Yeah, another ominent individual. Now, I didn't play that recording for you guys because, well, this is a spoiler-free playthrough. We're going to play all these types of things when Nick and I actually play this as a live stream, but that was not going to be very soon. But very similar to Grounded 1, you go into an ant's nest, you collect a chip, or in this case, a disc, and then you take it back and you, instead of giving it to Burgle, you actually put it in the ranger station, and then you unlock a bunch of new things. Now, for some reason, I was convinced that ant nest actually has mites in it, but that is not the ant nest with mites. The ant nest with mites is actually this one that we are currently in here. But here we've got the mites living in the ant nest. This is the ant nest that is infested with these mites. Now, there are some mites that actually do occur in close association with ants. Some of them also with termites, but a lot of them with ants. And that can be either a case of commensalism, where the mite benefits but the ant is not affected, or it could actually be a case of parasitism, where the mites actually harm the ants alongside which they are living. And in the case of, the parasitic ones, they actually do ingest the fluids of the ants they are living on, so they attach onto the body of the ant and then start sucking it dry, in some cases even killing the ant that they are feeding on. But in the more commensalistic mite species, the ones that are not actually harming the ants in the association with them, they actually use the ants mostly for transport rather than anything else. So they actually grab onto the one ant, they then use that ant to move from point A to point B, and then when the ant encounters another ant, maybe they climb onto that ant and they head off again. So especially during mating flights, they can actually transfer from one ant to another, or in the colony, very easy to actually just grab onto another individual and get carried around by them. So with mites, you find them in quite a few of your so-called eusocial insect species. Eusocial species being the species that have a queen that's reproducing and a whole bunch of workers and soldiers, those types of things, And the reason they are so common in eusocial species is probably just because it is so much easier to be transferred from one individual to another. Because, well, there are so many individuals in the colony. There we go, we finally have Silk Rope, which has unlocked the Dew Collector for us. But you know what, it is time for a better weapon, the Crimson Saber. So now we'll be running around with a sword rather than just the normal old peblet spear. Alright, so now we do need to build a hatchery, and you know what, I'm going to build that right over here, a little ways out of the way. Now, right underneath here, I do believe we've got a larva, which is very odd behavior if this is in fact a lacewing larva, because they are free roaming. They are the antlions of the overworld. So yeah, the reason I call them antlions of the overworld is the lacewings are actually very closely related to antlions. They're in the same order, they're in the Neuroptera, which means nerve wings, because the wings of the adults have these very, very intricate veins running along them. But the lacewing larvae, instead of digging underground and actually occurring in these pitfall traps that the antlions usually are found in, the lacewing larvae actually are free roaming. They are active hunters. And as I said, mainly feeding on things like aphids and all kinds of other softer prey that they can get a hold of. And the thing with lacewing larvae that's absolutely amazing, and I love that about them, is that once they have finished sucking out the juices of their victims, a lot of them will actually put the dry exoskeleton on their back, and they use that as a type of defense. And there we go, there's a big garden snail, there we go. But they're trying to defend themselves, not against big predators necessarily, although the fluffy, dry exoskeletons of their prey will actually break up the outline quite nicely. It's also a type of chemical defense. Hello there, cockroach nymph. It's a type of chemical defense where it masks their scent from things like ants. And then also, if the ants were to try and grab onto them, well, it's very difficult to bite into them because they have this fluffy armor around them. And it's very difficult then for the ants to actually bite into them. So these larvae here, the lacewing larvae, absolutely amazing. Ooh, there we go. There is what I was looking for. It's doing a very weird dance, but there we go. Come on. Come on, Orb Weaver. I don't know where it's going, but it's going somewhere. Come on. Come at me. There we go. It's really being knocked off balance there. Now I must remember that these spiders are web dwellers, so they really have horrible eyesight. So they would be at a serious disadvantage coming after us like that. Instead, what they would rather be doing is they would rather wait for us to be trapped in their webs, and then they would come and inject us with venom, and that will of course liquefy our insides, and yeah, then they can suck up the remains. But as it stands there, with them actively hunting us, they wouldn't do very well with that. And you'll find that generally the spiders with the best eyesight, well, they're the ones that are actually active hunters. Things like wolf spiders, very good eyesight. Things like jumping spiders, excellent eyesight. Things like the ogre-faced spiders, which actually are net-casting spiders, excellent eyesight. Things like the orb weavers, horrible, horrible eyesight. Hello, cockroach nymph again. Oh, there's a big cockroach as well. Well, now, of course there would be cockroaches here. There's a lot of food waste that's here, and that will attract them. Ah, we found the needles. Alright, so this is where we can start finding needles. That means there must be, there we go, there is the pine tree, I guess. And I think we also found the lingonberry hedge. Oh, and a whole bunch of spider eggs laid in there. But this does make sense. You would very often find spider eggs or web sacs in some kind of shelter. So very often in curled over leaves or dry leaves or on the bark or somewhere like that. Ooh. Ooh. There's a scorpion. Right. Yeah. So that is that a baby? Oh, that appears to be an adult. It's not a junior, and it's not a scorpion ling. That is an adult scorpion. Okay, so I'm not going there now, am I? No, 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 no. Let's just quickly check what are they weak to. The stinger is a weak point, and the rump is a weak point. They are weak to smashing and resistant to fresh, slashing, and venom, of course, as well. Now we can actually see, it seems there, we can see the eyes sticking out there. And it looks like that could be one of the pincers in front there. So what it's representing here is some kind of burrowing type scorpion. I know there is a species called the northern scorpion, and it is most likely the scorpion that we've got here. It's called the northern scorpion because it's the most northerly scorpion in the world. But there are a whole bunch of burrowing scorpions. I mean, in South Africa, for example, we've got the Epistophthalmus, which is an entire genus that are burrowing scorpions. Ooh, blue butterfly. Oh, that's a beautiful one. Oh, we'll talk about them later on in another episode. Are you guys aggressive?
Wow, that's actually, I'm unfamiliar with this genus of blue butterfly.
Oh, it's beautiful. Well, you know, Pete, I don't hold it against you that you're unfamiliar with this genus of butterfly, because the blues and hairtails and all those are really difficult to actually identify. Really, really challenging. Oh, this is such a beautiful one. One thing that bugs me, pardon the pun, is that, well, the mouth part there consists of biting mouth parts, but being in the Lepidoptera, the butterfly here would actually have a curled up proboscis. They would have this long tongue that they can unfurl to then actually drink nectar. So, yeah, the mouth, unfortunately, of the butterfly is incorrect. But apart from that, it is absolutely a stunning, beautiful, beautiful creature. And I'm very, very glad they brought it into the game. Alright, so there are scorpions to this side. Huh. We'll definitely come back, and we'll definitely take on that scorpion, but not today. Hello, cockroach. Luckily, the cockroaches are not aggressive. Ooh. Ooh. There's a baby scorpion. I thought I heard something emerging there. You know what? Let's try it, shall we? Hello, Scorpion. Okay, I am most likely outclassed. Oh, there we go. There's more. There are more. There are more. No, 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 no. Oh, yeah, no, no. I am unfamiliar with their attacks. I'm just going to, you know, run away. Run away, Stanley, run away. And, you know, now that we are sufficiently far away, now we can try taking on one. Like this. There we go. Okay. So these being the babies, and the babies that most likely just left their mother. So initially, when they are born, the babies actually remain on the back of their mother, and they actually feed on the mother. They've got sucking mouth parts that they will inject into the mother and actually drink some of her hemolymph. And then as they get older, they're able to take their own... okay, this is bad. Okay, let's just, you know, retreat a little bit. And just pepper this one with arrows, shall we? Oh, there we go. It's stunned. Ah, that's the way. I do like being a ranger, it seems. So I'm going to definitely, most likely, continue playing as a ranger for this playthrough. I don't think I've ever really played as a ranger. Okay, I'm not sure whether there are more scorpions here. I think it's time to head home, eh? But as I was saying with the scorpionlings there, when they get to a certain size, they would leave their mother, and they actually would then go and fend for themselves. And these ones are quite small. I do believe they most likely are some of those young ones that have just left their mother, and that means they're not far from their mother. And I'm not very keen on encountering her at the moment. I wonder whether that one we saw earlier isn't perhaps the mother of these babies we just, you know, killed. It could be. It very well could be. Alright, but let's just quickly analyze the scorpion chunk. There we go, we've got northern spaulders and breeches. Aha, and that is the rogue armor set that focuses on venom. I do love the fact that they've got it as venom rather than poison in Grounded 2. That was something that did, not greatly, but it did slightly grind my gears. You know, venomous versus poisonous. Something bites you or stings you and injects something into you. That is venom. And then if you bite something and you start feeling poorly, then that will be poison. I love the fact that they have made it all venom in this game, thus far at least. But here we go. I finally have got the next bow. So, from next time onwards, Tiny Pete is going to be rocking the spider bow. Ah, nice. Okay. But I think that is where I will be calling it a night, everybody. So thank you very much for joining me on a little adventure. Hope you had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. On Friday, we'll be going further and we'll be wrapping up our hatchery over there and then probably getting our buggy. So come and join me then. In the meantime, if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask in the comments down below. I'll do my best to answer it as well as I can. And then until next time, everybody, stay safe. I'll see you all soon. Cheers.